Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. In this video, I want to go over the calendar according to the Quran, but I want you to keep this in mind that this is not only the Quranic calendar, this is the divine calendar that has existed for forever. This is absolutely not specific to the Quran or Islam. So this is, if you are a Christian, if you are a Jew, if you are a monotheistic, and if you are by any chance interested in the calendar, the divine calendar of God, you have to watch this video, and it will make it very clear, make the calendar, the divine calendar, very clear for you, inshallah. I have several other videos about the calendar, but in this video I will be going into details, and I'm going to be discussing topics that I have not discussed in my other videos. So this is going to be a very important video for you to understand, so you can calculate the months and the year, and how you can account for 365 days. Everything you need to know about the calculation of the calendar is in this video. So I really encourage you to watch this video as many times as you need in order to understand it. And then if you had questions, let me know, but please watch this video completely, make sure you understand it, and then I am also available if you have any questions or comments. This is the product of years of research, and obviously Allah's teaching and guidance and blessings on me, and he taught me this calendar. So I'm sharing this with you. I'm really hoping that many of you will learn the true Quranic calendar, and because of this you will be able to do your Ramadan correctly, do your Hajj correctly, and follow the actual calendar of Allah. So without further ado, let's get started. We're going to start with verses number 36 and 37 of chapter 9. I'm pretty sure you know these verses, but let's go through them together. I'm not going to read the Arabic, you can read yourself. It says the number of months, I'm going to start from here. The number of months with Allah is 12 months. So this is very important. So Allah tells you that in His book there are only 12 months, not 11 months, not 13 months. Only and only 12 months. In Arabic, إن عدة الشهور عند الله 12 شهرا. It means 12 shuhur, 12 months. Remember, shahr is different than qamar. Shahr is different than months. So we'll get to that later. Of these 12 months, these coming back to these. So of these 12 months, 4 of them are sacred. Minha arba'atun hurum. It means 4 of them are sacred or forbidden. Sacred means forbidden. These are forbidden or sacred months in which you are not supposed to be engaged in any sort of fight or battle. So it's a ceasefire. During these 4 months, they are forbidden because there is a ceasefire going on. There's truce. So all wars used to stop at the time of the Prophet during these 4 months. These 4 months were forbidden or sacred or haram. It was forbidden to engage in any sort of war. And this was absolutely not specific to the Quran. It's actually in the Bible too. And I have the verse in one of my other videos, but it does say that in spring, when the wars resume, at the beginning of the spring where the wars resume, because what it means is that before spring the wars had stopped during the forbidden or haram months. That's how it was before Islam, and up until 30-40 years after Islam, up until the Umayyads. That's when all of these things changed. But up until then, that's how it was. So let's summarize this. 12 months. I'm going to write this here so I think it's very clear. It says Allah, in the book of Allah, there are only 12 months, not 11, not 13, not 10, not 14. Only and only 12 months, correct? Now let's go to the next verse. Indeed, al-nasi, Quran calls it an-nasi. Nasi means postponing, forgetting, right? But here, let's read together. Indeed, al-nasi means the nasi in the 13th month is an increase in disbelief, by which those who have disbelieved are led further astray. They make it, what is it referring to? They make it is referring to an-nasi. They make the nasi, the month of nasi. This was the 13th month at the time of the Prophet, before Prophet. They make it, the nasi, lawful 1 year and unlawful another year to correspond to the number made unlawful by Allah. Unlawful basically here means haram. So basically and I will demonstrate that to you so you know how they do it. And thus make lawful what Allah has made unlawful. Made pleasing to them is the evil of their deeds, and Allah does not guide the disbelieving people. And we know that, and these people disbelieved and Allah led them astray, right? Because they deserved it because of their actions. So these two verses are telling us that at the time of the Prophet, before Islam, people had lunar solar calendar. So they had 13 months. And the month of Nasi was basically their 13th month. I'm writing it for you. This was the month of Nasi, and Nasi was their month. This was the month that in lunar solar calendar, you have to add a 13th month to make sure the calendar is in sync with the seasons. So those brothers and sisters that claim the Quranic calendar has to use both the moon and the sun, you have to remember the only way your calendar works is if you add a 13th month, or the Nasi, al-Nasi. You have to add al-Nasi, which is the 13th month, to the calendar every 3 years to make sure your calendar is in sync with the seasons. Otherwise, your calendar completely becomes out of whack, just like the current Islamic calendar becomes a fully lunar calendar, and the seasons don't matter. It's a completely satanic, messed up calendar. So you have to add a Nasi to the calendar. What is a Nasi? A Nasi is the 13th month. And Allah actually makes a Nasi, or the 13th month, forbidden in the Quran. I don't understand how some of you do that. You have to read these verses carefully. I don't say that you're doing it on purpose, but An-Nathi is basically the 13th month that the Arabs at the time of the Prophet would add to the calendar. Actually, the Jews still do that. They still add An-Nasi to the calendar. Because it's technically, it was the origin of An-Nasi, and the reason why it is named Al-Nasi is based on the history of Judaism. And I don't want to go through that. But even as of today, the Jews currently add the 13th month to the calendar. And that is completely against the divine calendar in the Quran, in the Bible, and in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is the biggest and oldest collection of the Bible. So this is absolutely wrong. And please stay with me. I know some of you will be becoming very defensive at this moment. Stay with me, and you make your conclusions at the end of this video, okay? So keep in mind, An-Nasi is the 13th month, and I'm going to demonstrate to you how this An-Nasi would mess up the calendar. So this is the full Quranic, this is the full Islamic calendar at the time of the Prophet. This has not changed. I sign on it. I swear to it. This is 100% correct. The names, everything is correct. Everything is correct. Nothing has changed in here. There was no reason, there was no need for Akbar, the devil, to change these names, because he already changed it by making the calendar lunar. So there was no need for Akbar to come and change the name of the months. There was no need. It was already so messed up after he converted the calendar to fully lunar calendar, that there was really no need, that Allah kept him from being able to change this. That's why this is so accurate. I am not going to go through the name of the months and what they mean one by one. You can stop the video, you can watch this, and you can actually read the months yourself. I'm going to point out one important month. Obviously, the year starts with Rabiul Awwal, or the first month of spring, and that's our number 1 here. And then also Ramadan is always number 7. Remember, number 7 is very important, and it's right in the middle, and that's why Ramadan is number 7. There are some other reasons that I will again show to you at the end of this video. But what I want you to see, as you can see, how many months are in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 months in calendar. Just like the Quran tells us that there are 12 months in the calendar. Out of these 12 months, 4 of them are forbidden or haram. So which are these 4 months? These are months number 9, 10, 11, and 12, as I have highlighted here, right? And this is a point that I want you to keep in mind. The month of haram, the forbidden months, the name tells you everything you need to know. These are named very strategically. So month number 9 is named Zul Qa'dah. What does Zul Qa'dah means? It means possessor of truce, possessor of sitting, possessor of ceasefire. So Zul Qa'dah means ceasefire, truce. So it's because people at this time, at month number 9, they knew that wars are going to cease across that region. So they could start traveling. They could go to Hajj. They could go see their relatives. So it is named so that it signals to everyone that, okay, this is truce. This is ceasefire. Kings no longer go to wars. And then the last month of it, so these 2 months are very important. You have to know. Safar. Safar is really important, strategically named. Safar means void. So you have to ask yourself, what is being voided in Safar? What is being voided? Just think about it for a few seconds. What is being voided? What is about to become void in Safar? The security, the safety, the truce, the ceasefire. So that is about to become void. Because of that, people, what would they do in Safar? At the month of Safar, people would start, as soon as you knew that you were in Safar, you knew what it meant. It meant that the ceasefire, the truce, is about to become void. So what do you have to do? You have to head back home, finish up your pilgrimage, finish up your visit with relatives, go back home as quickly as you can, because the wars are about to start. And in the old days, the armies were huge and with horses and donkeys and camels, and they would go, and in the roads they would take you with them and steal your belongings, and or they might attack you. So in order for you to be safe, you had to be home. You didn't want to be in the roads, right? So this is really important that you know what Zul Qa'dah means and you know what Safar means. If you don't know these two, you might make mistakes. So Zul Qa'dah signals the beginning of the forbidden or haram months, and Safar means that security, that ceasefire, that truce is about to become void. So it's signaling the end of the 4 forbidden or haram months. Also, just so you know what this is here, so this is the seasons according to Northern Hemisphere. So NH stands for Northern Hemisphere. Spring, summer, fall, winter. And the column to the right of it is SH stands for Southern Hemisphere. So as you know, the seasons are the opposite in Northern Hemisphere versus Southern Hemisphere. I have a video according to the Quran that Allah tells us that Southern Hemisphere must follow the calendar of the Northern Hemisphere. So I will put the link in the description so you can watch those, but I'm not going to go through it for the sake of time. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you right now are saying, okay, Mahdi, this is good, but how many days are there in each shahr or month? How do we know? Is it 28 days, 29 days, 30 days, 31 days, 32 days? How many days are there? For those of you who have been following my channel and watched my videos, I actually talked about this extensively. There are two very important verses. Verse number 4 of chapter 58 and verse number 142 of chapter 7. I go through this extensively in detail, so I'm not going to go through this, but I'm going to put the description in the link so that you know how many days are in each shahr. But to summarize it for you here, because it's important, we're talking about the calendar, each shahr or month in the book of Allah is 30 ayam, or 30 days plus night. I will put the link for this video. Please watch this video. I go over the number of days in each shahr in detail in this video. I know it says the exact number of days to fast, but at the beginning of it, I explained those two verses and several other verses. So if you watch this video, you're going to know everything there is to know for you to understand the number of days in each shahr in the Quran. Quran is very specific, and that number is 30. Not a day less, not a day more. 30. And that's why a lunar calendar or a lunisolar calendar would never work in the Quran, because each lunar month is 29.5 days. That's why all of these lunar calendar or solely lunar calendars, they alternate between 29 days and 30 days, because they can never be 29.5 days, because obviously 29.5 days is not plausible, right? So this averages to 29.5 days, whereas the Quran tells us each shahr, each month in the Quran, in the book of Allah, is 30 days. So we know that the word Yawm in the Quran has been used how many days? I think you all know this, but it's very well known. It's one of the it is considered one of the signs of the Quran. It is used 365 times. So Allah is telling us in the Quran, Allah is giving us a sign that there are 365 days in a year, correct? That is very well known. I think that's anyone who is slightly familiar with the Quran, they know that. You can watch a lot of YouTube videos about it. So I'm not going to talk more about that. And at this point, we know that each shahr or each month is how many days? 30 days. Again, Quran makes that very clear for us. And also Quran makes it very clear that there are 12 shahrs or 12 months in the Quran. So it's just a matter of a very simple mathematical equation. So 12 months times 30 days, because each month is 30 days, right? And we have 12 months. So 12 months, 12 30-day months equal how many days? It equals 360 days, or 360 ayam. So at this point, you might think about it and you might say, okay, there are 365 days in the Quran, and there are also 365 days scientifically as well. So, but 12 months, 12 30-day months is 360 days. So 365 minus 360, we are going to be left with 5 days that are unaccounted, right? 5 days that are unaccounted. So what are we supposed to do with this? This is a problem, because Quran is telling us there is 365 days. Science and the universe and the way things are working are also telling us and verifying and confirming that there's 365 days, but you are telling me, you might be asking, Mahdi is telling us that there is 12 30-day months in the book, so we're talking about 360 days. So these 5 days that are accounted, how do we account for these? So these days are for night and day variations. Allah calls them اختلاف الليل والنهار. It means variations of the day, of the night and day. So I'm going to show that to you, but I'm just going to list it for you, and then I'm going to go over and explain that to you further. But 4 days of it are for seasons. 1 day is for spring, 1 day is for summer, another day for fall, and another day for winter. And of course, as you know, every year has to come to an end and it has to start. So there is 1 day also for the new year and for the start of the calendar. So altogether, you have 4 days for the seasons, for the 4 seasons, and 1 day for the new year. So you are altogether, you have 5 days here, right? So you have 364 days, you have your 4 season days, and you have 1 new year calendar day. So altogether, you come up to 365 days. But the question that some of you might ask is that where in the Quran does it tell us about these 5 days, right? You say, where is it in the Quran? That might make sense, but where in the Quran does it say, does it talk about this? But before I show you the Quranic evidence, I would like to take a few minutes to make sure you know about the variation of day and night. So it's really important for you to know this in order to understand the calendar and to understand the season. I think this is a very good information that you should have, general information and knowledge that you should have about Allah's creation. So let's start with March equinox. What happens in March equinox? In March equinox, the length of day and the length of night become equal. So you have equal day and equal night. It usually happens around March 21st of each year. So this is the sign of spring equinox. Allah, right now we call it very commonly known as spring equinox in English. So this heralds or tells us the beginning of the month, the season of spring, which is our first season. So this is a spring. Spring starts with March equinox and spring moves. But as spring goes on, the length of day increases. So days become longer and nights become shorter up until we get to June solstice. This is what they call June solstice. What happens in June solstice? The summer starts. It is around June 21st, and that's when the summer starts. They call it summer solstice. So we have the longest day of the year, and we have the shortest night of the year at June solstice. And then, again, this would be our second season up until we get to September or fall equinox, which heralds or signals the beginning of our third season. What is our third season? Our third season is fall or autumn. What is the sign? Fall or autumnal equinox. And it always usually happens around September 22nd or September 23rd. And what happens in this day? What happens at September equinox? We're going to have equal day again and equal night. It means day and night are equal. They have the exact same length. That is September or fall equinox. Do you see how this variation of day and night are playing out in calendar? This is what Allah is talking about. So this would be our third season, and we keep moving forward up until we get to December or winter solstice. What is December or winter solstice? It's a sign that Allah has put in the calendar, that God has put in the calendar to signal or herald the beginning of winter. So it usually almost always happens at around December 21st. And in this day, during winter solstice or December solstice, we have the shortest day and the longest night. And then we move forward, and this would be our fourth season of winter, and we move forward and we go back to March equinox or spring equinox, and the calendar starts new. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, and calendar restarts. Basically, you have a renewal, and that's why spring all across the world is known as the season in which the earth renews. There's a renewal of the earth in northern hemisphere. That's what I'm talking about. Of course, in southern hemisphere, it's the opposite. So I just want you to see and understand these variations of اختلاف اللیل و النهار, variations of the night and day. So we have in March equinox, we have equal day and night. In June solstice, we have the longest day, shortest night. In September solstice, we have again, we call it also fall equinox, September equinox or fall equinox. Day and night become equal again, and in December or winter solstice, we have the shortest day and longest night again. And these are the variations of the day and night. These are how they are. Sometimes they become equal, sometimes one becomes longer, sometimes one becomes shorter. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. These are the signs that Allah has put in the calendar for us. And these are what the Quran calls اختلاف الليل والنهار, variations of the night and day. I just have to take a moment and praise Allah, praise the Lord for His creation. Praise and glory to be to you. Beautiful, beautiful creation. Now let's go back. I want to show to you, demonstrate to you from the Quran where these are discussed. Okay, this is something that I have not seen anyone anywhere ever talk about this. As far as I know, this is the first time you hear this, and this is through this channel. This is what Allah has taught me, and I'm sharing this with you for the first time. Inshallah, you will find this beneficial for your faith and for your hereafter. But nobody, just like a lot of the other things that we have discussed, nobody has ever heard this. This is from the blessings of Allah to me and His guidance. But I'm sharing this with you, and I really hope that you can enjoy it as well. So the word اختلاف الليل والنهار, اختلاف الليل والنهار, has been used in the Quran exactly 5 times. I told you there's 5 times shortage. Allah will give us the sign in the Quran. We have accounted 360 days. So we are short how many days? 5 days to reach to 365. And Allah gives us a sign to make sure that we don't go wrong, we don't make an error, we don't make a mistake. And how is this sign? What is this sign that Allah has given us? Is that Allah has used اختلاف الليل والنهار, means variation of the night and day, exactly how many times? 5 times in the Quran. I'm not going to go over the translation. I translate that for you. But verse number 80 of chapter 23 is the first time Allah uses, it says اختلاف الليل والنهار. Then again in verse number 6 of chapter 10, Allah uses إن في اختلاف الليل والنهار, and the rest of the verse you can look it up. It means variation of the night and day. I'm telling you, giving you the numbers. And then again, verse numbers 164 of chapter 2, for the third time, Allah uses واختلاف الليل والنهار. And again in verse number 190 of chapter 3 in the Quran, again Allah uses واختلاف الليل والنهار for the fourth time. And verse number 5 of chapter 45, again Allah uses واختلاف الليل والنهار. So altogether 5 times Allah is accounting. Basically Allah is telling us, giving us a message. The Quran is teaching us that those 5 days you have, that is based on, those are the seasonal days that are accounted for by the variations of the night and day, or اختلاف الليل والنهار. And that's what I say this, اختلاف الليل والنهار. These are those days. So it's used 5 times in the Quran, and as I mentioned, 4 is for the seasonal days and 1 is for the year day. So altogether 5 days. You add that to the calendar and you have 365 days. Isn't Allah beautiful? Isn't He wise? He's the best. He's the best. His book is complete. 100%. If you follow Allah's book, you cannot make a mistake. But as soon as you step outside the boundary of Allah's words, Satan holds your hand and runs with you and leads you astray, like he did to the worshippers of Akbar. Peace and blessings, praise and glory be to Allah. So let me show you how this works. So this is how it works. I have laid it out for you in this page. I'm going to zoom in and we are going to go together and I'm going to walk you through every season. I want to make sure that you know how this calendar works. So basically you will know everything. I know everything Allah has taught me during the past several years. I'm going to lay it out for you so you know everything I know about calendar. So the first season, as we discussed, is spring. So the first month of spring is 30 days. As I mentioned, each shahr or each month in the book of Allah, in the Quran, is 30 days. The second month again is 30 days. The third month is 30 days. But now you have the spring is ending and summer is starting. So you add 1 seasonal day, 1 summer day to account for the variations of the night and day, those 5 seasonal days, right? So you add 1 day. So altogether, how many days you have at the end of this season? You have 91 days. So we are totaling at 91 days. Then at this point, you have summer solstice, which is the sign that Allah has put in the heavens for us to know that summer is about to start. Again, the season of summer starts first month, 30 days, second month, 30 days, third month, 30 days. But at this point, fall equinox is about to start, right? So you're about to go into the season of fall. So you have to add 1 fall or autumn day. And that is 1 day. So it totals, the season of summer totals to 91 days. Altogether, how many days have we had so far? 182 days. But now you have the fall equinox, right? So day and night become equal, and that's when we have the 7th month of the year, the month of fasting or Ramadan, and that's because it's fair, it's just. Day and night are equal across the world, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, wherever you go on earth, day and night suddenly become equal. So it's just, it's fair for everyone. That's when you have the month of Ramadan, which would be the first month of fall. That's when you always have Ramadan here. Right at this, the sign of Ramadan is the fall equinox. I'm going to talk a lot more about it. Quran actually talks about fall equinox several times in the Quran. Then you have the second month, 30 days, the third month, again, 30 days, and then you have the winter days. So you add one winter day here. Again, you total 91 days. At this point, you are totaling 273 days in the year. But at this point, you have the sign of winter. What is that? It's winter solstice or December solstice. And at this time, the day becomes the shortest day in the year, and the night becomes the longest night in the year. And again, Quran talks about this night as well. It says وَسَبِّحُ لَيْلًا طَوِيلًا, right? So that's in another video. Hopefully in the next video I'll talk about those signs in the Quran. Quran talks about all these days in it. So again, the first month of winter, 30 days, second month of winter, 30 days, third month of winter, 30 days, and at this point you're heralding, you're signaling the start of the season of March and the beginning of the calendar. So you have to add a spring day, and that's for one day. And then because the calendar is ending and the year is ending and the new year is starting, you have to add a new year day as well. So altogether, season of winter is going to be 91 days as well, totaling 364 days. And then when you add the new year day for the start of the new calendar, you get to 365 days. I hope this is clear for all of you, but some of you might have a question. You might ask, what about the 365.25 that actually science tells us that there's 365.25 days in a year? So that is leap year. That's one day is added every 4 years. You have to do that intercalation to make sure. It takes a very long time, but you have to have that as well. You have every 4 years you add one day to account for that. But again, Quran has rounded it off for us, made it very nicely. And in fact, let me show you something else. This is from NASA website. Again, it tells us the same thing. It takes approximately 365.25 days for Earth to orbit the sun, which we call a solar year. And Quran tells us 365 days, right? It says we usually round the days in the calendar year to 365, and that's exactly what Allah has done in the Quran for us as well. Then it says to make up for the missing partial day, we add one day to our calendar approximately every 4 years. That's the leap year. You have to do that. It takes a long time for that to mess up the calendar, but every 4 years you add just one day. It really doesn't change anything. Again, as you can see, you have 1 year 365, and then you have the next one 365. You have the third year 365, and then on the fourth year you add 1 year. Quran gives us the big picture. Quran gives us the framework, and the rest, we are human beings. We are not animals. We have to think and we have to figure out the rest. But Quran gives us the big picture, gives us the framework, and gives us the tools and equipment we need to make sure everything is accurate. But we have to, Quran doesn't go into detail to just kind of micromanage us, but gives us the big picture, and we can follow the rest ourselves. I hope and pray that you found this video useful and you fully understand the divine calendar of God, of Allah, our creator. It doesn't matter what your religion is. This is the divine calendar of God. Now, I didn't have time to go through the way how the calendar was calculated in early Judaism, and how it was solar, because nowadays it's solely lunar, and that's 100% not correct. If you look at Dead Sea Scrolls, Book of Enoch, and it's completely solar calendar. And in fact, that's the reason why Jesus Christ, the Messiah, celebrated the Pesach at a different time than the Jews of his own time, because their calendar was lunisolar, but Jesus Christ was following the solar calendar. That's why he celebrated that very important celebration at a different day compared to the Jews of his time who didn't believe in him. So if you look at this video and you disbelieve and you don't believe in the Quran and its calendar, that's fine. Remember, even Jesus Christ, who was on earth over 2,000 years ago, and he was the Messiah, people didn't believe in him and the calendar of God that he talked about. This is quite normal. It happens all the time. That's why Allah has created several options in the calendars to distinguish, to differentiate between the true believers and those who are defiantly disobedient, and Allah calls them fasiqeen, or sons of light, who follow the solar calendar. Look at it's very interesting. Sons of light versus sons of darkness, who follow the lunar calendar of the night, whereas the solar calendar is for sons of light, because it's for the day, it's for the light, and the lunar calendar is for the night, and it's for the darkness. So, and this is a beautiful, please study this. I am stopping on this. And please pay attention to the forbidden or haram months, and how beautifully they start with possessor of truth and ceasefire, and how they end with Safar, which means the ceasefire and the truce is about to become void. It's beautiful. I love it. Whenever I look at this calendar, it just fills my heart with joy. So peace and blessings to all of you. And dear Lord, thank you for guiding us. Thank you for teaching me so that I can share this with my brothers and sisters who are interested to learn your word. Peace and blessings, everyone.